So a quick recap on everything that we were talking about today. And today we were talking about really the beginning of how do you make more effective decisions as an entrepreneur. And really what we talked about was one, how, I had this, I believe, mistaken belief that all you needed to really work on was expanding your catalog of mental maps, tracing that back to Munger's thinking, Charlie Munger's thinking, Warren Buffett's partner, that a lattice work of mental maps is all that's necessary to improve your thinking and decision-making skills. And while I think there's a lot of truth to that, I think that a lot of those skills are much more applicable to investment than they are to entrepreneurship. Whoops. And so there are really two schools of thought, right? You could say that there is the cognitive bias heuristic thought, right? Which you could say that, from Thinking Fast and Slow, Kahneman, Tversky, right? That we have these certain cognitive biases, and when we default to heuristics, these cognitive biases show up because we're defaulting to system one as opposed to system two. System one being quick thinking versus system two being long drawn out thinking that we try to avoid because we're cognitive misers. On the other side, right? So from this perspective, from the Tversky and Kahneman model, right? And then mental maps being ways to overcome being exposed to these cognitive biases, right? Is kind of the Munger thinking that we use these mental maps to overcome these inherent biases in our thinking, right? On the total other side of the equation is Gary Klein. And Gary Klein has invented certain processes called like the critical decision method, cognitive task analysis. He's written books like Sources of Power, The Power of Intuition, Working Minds, Streetlight and Lamppost, I think, or something like that. And another book actually about epiphanies, but that's not related to this. And what he has worked his whole life about is how experts make decisions when there is times of great uncertainty, great time pressure, and consequences, serious consequences, right? And so oftentimes, because of the situation, an expert will default into intuition, which are heuristics, but heuristics that they've built up themselves based on their own experiences. So on the one camp, right, better decision making is overcoming your heuristics. And on the other, it's tapping into and creating more heuristics, which is why you had Kahneman and Klein write a paper together. And I'll tell you about that paper in the next live stream. But so we're looking at it, and from my perspective, I default much more into the Gary Klein way of thinking about expertise and how to grow your entrepreneurial talent. I think it's more about these tacit, implicit ways of operating the world, how you think, what you recognize, what you perceive, right? Than just understanding these certain models. But even understanding certain models, how we get them in our head is a whole nother equation. So I didn't get as far as I really wanted to today. I opened up my Evernote. We kind of looked through this one article series that I had gone through that I'm now extracting the best ideas from. One, to show you guys the process once again, and then also to show you what I'm finding in my research, right? And this is all based on this idea of like, how do we help someone become a better entrepreneur? How do we get them to see the world in a way that might be different than they currently see the world, because the way they currently see the world is not helping them in growing an online business. So how do we change the way they see the world so that they can see the world the way someone sees the world who has successfully generated lots of businesses online? I know that there are certain ways that I see the world that are different from others, which is why I've been able to grow successful online businesses, help a lot of other people grow successful online businesses, and even help people that didn't believe it was possible to have successful online businesses. So there's something in my brain that other people don't have, right? And there's people way above me that have brains that I only could dream about having. But I'm trying to understand, even just from my perspective, what is it that allows me to see something that doesn't allow the person I'm sitting across from seeing it, and how can I better help them see it? So that's what today was all about. And the way we were getting at it was really kind of first putting on the table this idea that mental maps, right, while useful, uh, are not sufficient. They might be necessary, but they certainly aren't sufficient to better thinking. And so while Farnham Street and Shane Parrish have contributed a lot in mental maps, whether they've contributed as much in making great entrepreneurs, I doubt. And so the question is that how do we make great entrepreneurs? And I'm going to be working on that in upcoming live streams. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. You'll get all the updates of these recaps. And if you want to watch the full live stream, you just have to go to Facebook, join our group, Strategic Profits, and you'll be in our Facebook group, and then you'll be able to watch the whole thing as well. So with all that said, I want to say goodbye. Like it, thumb it up, comment on Facebook, subscribe or thumbs up on YouTube. And I'm going to end the video here, but I'm not going to end the live stream. I'll say goodbye to everyone first, and I'll just cut that out of the end. So let's now say goodbye to everyone. And, I should have probably said that. Should have reminded people about Thursday, but I guess I will do that next time. And I still want to do the whole messaging thing, but I wanted to, but I want to wait until Molly had some issues, so I didn't want to bother her. All right, so I'm just looking at the comments. All right. Okay, so wow. Okay. All right, so Ulrich, here's the rest of the answers. Ulrich, he didn't write about how to read. I just had many conversations with him. I was his global marketing director for a number of years. He said the goal was written to be read multiple times. I can't remember the number. So I would start with multiple readings or doing what Rich does to consume books. I enjoy watching the live streams. I'm more interested in how people think than what they think. Cool. Fascinating stuff. Thanks, Rich. I mean, it wasn't the most productive one like the TOC one, but it got me thinking, especially this last big tech segment. Cool. Watching you hash through the concept is helpful for going through my own process. Cool. Also got me to understand better what you were aimed at with the question, even though I can't put it into words. Are these sessions recorded anywhere? Yeah, they're all on my page. They're all in the group. Because I post them there, so I hope so. Thanks, Lisa. I'll have to go through his books again, maybe build logic trees to surface deeper insights. Logic trees of his books. I remember hearing a session where he said the book were logic trees first, then turned into a narrative. I've heard that too, I think. Definitely adds more depth to my toolbox as I continue to explore better ways to enhance my thinking, process, and strategies in various areas of business as well as life in general. Yes, on the Facebook page. Ulrich, I think I may have written an article on how to read based on conversations. I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, Lisa, definitely post it in the group if you find it. I'd love to read it too. Great session. I'm really digging deeper into this. Last week I purchased the Goal and Decision on Spanish and put those books to priority. I'm also getting the one you recommended on English. So I had a lot to learn and apply. Thanks for the live streams and all things you share on the mental models and expertise. Thanks for saying that, Carlos. Fingers crossed. Thank you. Great session. Thanks. Keep asking questions. When an entrepreneur creates an idea that hasn't been done before, that's great. I think sometimes some ideas are just a matter of time. If Bill Gates didn't invent Windows, I think someone else would have thought of it eventually. When Prince had a song, he would have recorded it as fast as possible because he was scared that Michael Jackson was going to have the same idea. Do you think ideas are time sensitive? I think some ideas are time sensitive, but I also like with marketing, because it's an art as well as a science, right? Like I just find that so often a better idea can make something 10, 20, 30 times better, like 10x, 20x, 30x. And it could be as simple as someone like sparking an idea that, that just was not in my mind at that moment. And I guess that's one of the reasons why thinking, creativity, all these things are just fascinating to me because so often, like, the difference between success and struggle seems to be so small. Uh, Perhaps what makes the dots difficult to connect, for instance, between your fitness practice and your writing practice is when they are related to vastly sorts of goals. Maybe what would allow entrepreneurs to identify opportunities very quickly is that these opportunities are related to a common goal. This makes pattern recognition easier. Well, there certainly is an element, right, that now, like, whenever I come across something that I think is working in any area, any vein, right, like the very next thing I do or try to do or want to do more consistently is to then think about that and think about how could I apply this in each area of my life? How could I apply this in areas that are already working well, areas that I'm already struggling, in other areas, right? So that, like, I do force myself to make more connections, to, at least as a thought exercise, if nothing more than that, kind of develop more ideas, if that makes sense. Bye, Oliver. Bye, Tim. Thanks to Nicolaj for showing up and being active. Uh, yep, Necessary but Not Sufficient is another great book by Goldrat, for sure. Thanks, Lisa, for showing up and being active. I love when information is explained in concept, model, system type, and not only do these three things. Yeah, me too. Here's a template to copy, or here's a technique to do it. That's why I always enjoy reading and watching your stuff. But it also helps a lot when you see specific uses or templates or cases as an example of using those models or systems. My feedback is just more of a request to provide more specifics more often. Thank you. I will certainly try to do that. Appreciate that, Vitali. Thanks, Lisa. Are you a speed reader? Or so how did you get there? How did you get there? Speed reading. Tim, just type in Rich Schefren reading process, and you'll find a bunch of stuff. And that is it, guys. So have a wonderful rest of your week. I will be here on Thursday at 6 to 8 p.m. Other people are busy texting me, even though I have this on silent. I'm not sure why. So anyway, have a wonderful week. Make it profitable and all that kind of stuff. As always, share it. Give me a thumbs up. All that kind of stuff. I appreciate it. So it's more of a dialogue than a monologue. And I will have this much more evolved the next time that we get together. So you watch and be prepared to be blown away. To Higher Profits and Beyond, Rich Schefren, over and out. See you Thursday.